Everyone was getting settled after a hard day, and it was a typical evening in the Johnston home. Anna was deep in contemplation as she browsed through her phone in her bedroom. There was a sense of security and familiarity in the silence of the house, but that serene ambience was destroyed in a matter of seconds. A stinging agony tore through Anna's body, causing her to wince and grab her stomach. She initially wrote it off as a cramp, something small. She shifted in bed in an attempt to feel comfortable, but she gasped as the pain got worse. She felt sick to her stomach and her forehead started to perspire. She inhaled deeply as she tried to regain her composure, but everything around her felt unsteady. Her legs gave way under her as she attempted to stand. She unintentionally knocked over a light while reaching for support, bringing it falling to the ground. The house reverberated with the sound. The sound instantly caused Amber, who had been passing Anna's room, to turn around. Amber's voice was filled with worry as she called. She hurried into the room when no one responded. Hello everyone, hope you are well. Please do subscribe, give this video thumbs up. She was startled by the image of Anna stooped, struggling to remain upright as Amber knelt next to her daughter. Her heart raced. Mom, Anna's breathing was labored and her voice was feeble. There's a problem. I'm unable to. Her body failed her before she could say another word, and she fell to the bed. Amber pushed her palm against Anna's forehead, her hand shaking. She was shivering, yet her skin was searing hot. Amber fumbled for her phone and dialed 911 as panic swept through her chest. The emergency department. The ambulance ride seemed to go so quickly, with sirens blaring in the distance and lights flashing. Holding Anna's hand, Amber sat next to her and whispered assurances that she wasn't even sure she believed. Paramedics hurried Anna into the emergency department as soon as they got to the hospital, leaving Amber powerless to watch as her daughter vanished beyond the double doors. The whole family showed up in a matter of minutes with anxious expressions on their faces. Trent, Liz, Alex, Jonah, and Emma stood side by side. Trent spoke steadily but urgently as he walked up to the nurse's station. We must be informed about the whereabouts of our daughter Anna Johnston. She was just brought in. A nice looked at him pityingly. She is currently being evaluated, aided by the doctors. Someone will come talk to you as soon as we get any new information. Amber shook her head as she stood next to him. That is insufficient. We require answers. Trent squeezed her hand and softly drew her back. Amber, we have to let them do their job. Amber brushed a hand over her hair and turned away. The nervousness was intolerable. Standing in a sterile hospital hallway, she felt helpless, even though she had always been the one to put things together and keep their family strong. Time passed slowly. Hours seemed to stretch into minutes. Amber held her breath, waiting for news each time the doors opened. However, nobody showed up. Then suddenly, like a tidal wave, the weight of the situation fell upon her. Amber's disintegration. Amber's breathing became shallow as she started to pace. Should have seen this coming. She shook her head and mumbled, she has been behaving strangely. Perhaps she was worn out. Perhaps she wasn't eating healthfully. Perhaps. Trent took a step forward. Stop, Amber. You are not to blame for this. Amber wasn't paying attention, though she pushed her fist to her temples, her eyesight distorted with tears. I'm Trent. Her mother ought to have known, ought to have taken action. Her body began to shake. Before she could finish, she breathed in rough, quick breaths. Emma, who was observing from the side, realized what was going on right away. Emma whispered softly, Mom, you need to breathe, before coming forward and putting her arms around Amber. Amber sobbed onto her daughter's shoulder as she held onto her. It was all too much, the stress, the anxiety, the powerlessness. Emma spoke in a forceful but gentle tone, you must be strong for Anna. Everyone does. Amber brushed away her tears and sniffed while nodding in an attempt to regain her composure. She inhaled deeply. At that moment, the doctor entered the waiting room with a clipboard, the diagnosis. With their hearts pounding, the whole family turned to face him. Anna had a severe infection. The physician indicated it quickly spread and had an impact on her system, which is why she passed out. We have, however, stabilized her. Despite her continued weakness, she is reacting favorably to treatment. They were all suddenly relieved. Trent put a comforting hand on Amber's shoulder as she closed her eyes and let out a trembling breath. Can we see her? Jonah inquired. The physician gave a nod. For now, one at a time. She needs to sleep. The first person to enter Anna's hospital room was Amber, her chest constricted as she saw her daughter lying in the hospital bed with falls in her arms. However, Anna's eyes opened and a faint grin came on her face. You freaked out, didn't you? With a voice that was hardly more than a whisper, Anna teased. Amber laughed uncontrollably, tears streaming down her face. More than you'll ever know. She bent over and kissed Anna's forehead tenderly. You scared me so much. Anna gave her mother's hand a squeeze. I'm all right, Mom. Swear. Slowly, the other members of the family moved into the room and gathered around Anna. There was a quiet appreciation that their family was still intact despite everything. Amber let herself breathe for the first time in what seemed like an eternity. And there's more. Many viewers want Anna Johnston to have her own TLC show because they like her on 7 Little Johnstons. In a recent online video, Emma Johnston discussed all of that and more. Now, what was Emma's? The family had gathered quietly in Anna's hospital room, the fluorescent lights casting a soft glow over the sterile environment. Each floor drip beeped rhythmically, echoing the fragile stability Anna had just regained. Amber remained at Anna's side, her hand intertwined with her daughter's, occasionally brushing back stray strands of hair from her damp forehead. Trent hovered near the doorway, his eyes scanning every detail, ensuring that the hospital staff were following the treatment plan exactly. Jonah and Emma leaned against the far wall, sharing subtle glances of relief but also apprehension. They knew that a single setback could send the entire household into chaos. Liz and Alex had taken seats closer to the foot of the bed, trying to maintain composure while fighting off the worry that gnawed at their thoughts. Anna's voice was soft but steady. "I'm tired, Mom, but I feel better." Her eyelids fluttered as she spoke, revealing the depth of exhaustion that had built up over the past several days. Amber leaned closer, her tears threatening to spill again, but she held herself steady. "Just rest, Anna. Let us take care of everything," she whispered, pressing a gentle kiss to her daughter's temple. Anna's fingers squeezed. Amber's hand weakly in response, her small gesture enough to reassure her mother that she would survive this ordeal. The doctor entered again, clipboard in hand, his face lined with concern but relief. "We've stabilized her vitals further," he said. "The infection is responding to the antibiotics, but she will need to remain under observation for at least the next 48 hours. Any sudden changes, and we'll act immediately." Amber nodded, silently thanking the medical team while feeling the tension in her shoulders ease slightly. Trent exhaled a deep breath, gripping Amber's hand as if to ground both of them in the reality that Anna was safe, for now. Outside the room, the hospital corridor hummed with activity. Nurses moved briskly, patients wheeled past on gurneys, the scent of antiseptic thick in the air. But inside Anna's room, there was a fragile cocoon of calm, broken only by the rhythmic sounds of heart monitors and soft murmurs of reassurance from family members. Emma, sitting closest to the window, pulled out her phone, hesitant to post anything online just yet, knowing that privacy was paramount. "Maybe we should let everyone know she's stable," she murmured. Amber nodded. "Yes, but only after we're sure she's fully awake and coherent." Anna's small smile returned, flickering like a candle in a gentle breeze. "You all worry too much," she said weakly, her voice barely above a whisper. Jonah chuckled softly, the tension breaking just enough to allow a sliver of humor into the room. "Well, someone has to," he said, leaning closer. Anna's hand twitched, reaching out for Jonah's shoulder, and for the first time in hours, the room felt a bit lighter. The family shared quiet laughter, the kind that only comes after moments of terror, bonding them together in a way that was deeper than before. Amber finally allowed herself to relax slightly, resting her forehead against Anna's arm. "We'll get through this, Anna. You're strong. You always have been," she said, her voice firm but laced with vulnerability. Anna's eyes met hers, and a faint spark of the old mischievous glimmer returned. "I know, Mom. I know," she whispered. Outside, the world continued at its frantic pace, but inside this hospital room, time slowed, giving the Johnston family a moment to breathe, to gather their strength, and to reaffirm the bond that had carried them through so many trials before as the evening settled outside. The hospital lights seemed almost too bright, glaring down on the Johnston family as they hovered around Anna's bed. The quiet hum of the ventilation system and the occasional beep of the monitors created a rhythm, punctuating the weight of the moment. Amber remained vigilant, watching Anna's chest rise and fall with each labored breath, her hand never leaving her daughter's. "You're doing so well, Anna," she whispered, her voice soft yet unwavering. Anna responded with a weak nod, her eyes fluttering closed briefly before opening again, glimmering with exhaustion and relief. Trent moved closer to the window, taking a steadying breath. "We need to coordinate with the hospital staff about tomorrow's plan," he murmured to Liz, who nodded and scribbled notes on her pad. Jonah and Emma stayed near the doorway, scanning the hallway for updates and potential visitors, silently agreeing that no one should enter until Anna was fully stable. The tension of the past day still hung in the room, a palpable reminder of how fragile life could be. Yet amidst it, the family's unity was unwavering. Anna's fingers twitched slightly as she reached for the call button. Amber, immediately responsive, leaned in. "Yes, honey, do you need anything?" Anna's voice was barely audible, but it carried clarity. "Water, please." Amber quickly pressed the button for the nurse, who entered with a small cup of water and a reassuring smile. The nurse carefully lifted Anna's head slightly, letting her sip. Each small action, the water, the gentle brushing of her hair, the soft reassurances, was like stitching pieces of broken courage back together. Emma, watching closely, whispered to Jonah, "She's holding on, but we can't let our guard down." Jonah nodded, his eyes never leaving Anna. "I know. Every second counts. We need to make sure she doesn't overexert herself." The family's awareness of Anna's condition created an unspoken bond in the room, a silent choreography where each member moved and spoke in perfect understanding of the situation. The doctor returned, clipboard in hand, his expression a mixture of relief and concern. "Anna's vitals have stabilized further. The antibiotics are working, but we are keeping her under close observation. Any sudden temperature spike or change in consciousness will require immediate intervention." Amber nodded, gripping Anna's hand tighter, drawing strength from the doctor's words. Trent exhaled heavily, allowing himself a brief moment of relief before refocusing on the tasks ahead. "We'll monitor her through the night," he said softly, almost to himself, "and make sure she's never left alone." Anna's eyes moved around the room, taking in each familiar face. "You all stayed," she whispered weakly. Amber smiled, pressing a kiss to Anna's hand. "Every moment, honey. We didn't leave your side for a second." The simple reassurance seemed to fuel Anna, her eyelids lifting, a faint blush coloring her cheeks as she murmured, "Thank you. I love you all." The words were fragile but carried the weight of gratitude and relief that had been building over the past day. Outside the hospital, night had deepened, the streets quiet except for the occasional ambulance siren in the distance. Inside the room, time slowed for the Johnstons. Liz adjusted a pillow behind Anna's back. Jonah fetched a blanket to keep her warm, and Emma quietly updated their relatives online with brief reassurances that Anna was stable but resting. Amber kept talking softly to her daughter, recounting trivial memories and inside jokes to coax Anna's smile, to remind her that the world outside was still familiar and full of love. Hours passed like moments. The quiet beeping, the gentle rustle of sheets, the soft murmur of family voices, each created a rhythm, almost like a lullaby, coaxing Anna into deeper rest. The doctor checked in periodically, updating the family on progress, each update slightly easing the tight grip of fear that had taken over earlier. Amber held her breath with every word, her own exhaustion shadowed by her determination to remain strong for Anna. Finally, as the first light of dawn crept through the blinds, Anna stirred slightly, a weak smile forming on her lips. Amber brushed a tear from her cheek. "Good morning, sweetheart," she whispered. "You made it through the night." Anna's faint grin and soft squeeze of Amber's hand were enough to lift the weight from everyone's hearts. Trent exhaled, placing a hand on Amber's shoulder. "We've got her," he said simply, and for the first time in nearly 24 hours, the family allowed themselves a collective breath of relief, silently acknowledging that their unity and care had made this moment possible. The morning light cast a soft glow across the hospital room, illuminating Anna's pale but steadily recovering face. Amber sat beside her, gently adjusting the blanket to ensure she remained warm. "How are you feeling?" Amber asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper, not wanting to startle her daughter. Anna blinked slowly, her lips curling into a small, weary smile. "Better, still tired, but better," she murmured. Trent moved closer to the bedside, placing a reassuring hand over Anna's arm. "The doctors say you're stable. The antibiotics are working. You just need to rest," he said firmly but gently. Anna nodded, her eyes flicking briefly to each family member. Jonah, Emma, Liz, and Alex had gathered near the foot of the bed, their expressions a mix of relief and lingering worry. Each silently reminded themselves that the events of the past day had changed something. They could no longer take Anna's health for granted. Emma leaned in closer, softly brushing Anna's hair from her face. "You really gave us a scare, Anna. We were all so worried," she whispered. Anna's hand twitched, reaching for Emma's, a gesture that conveyed gratitude, reassurance, and love all at once. Amber's heart swelled at the sight. Every small movement from Anna now felt monumental. The nurse entered, quietly checking the 4 lines and monitoring equipment. "Vitals are stable," she announced, but we want to keep her here for observation for at least another 24 hours. Any sudden changes, let us know immediately." Trent nodded, acknowledging the update, while Amber pressed a hand to Anna's shoulder, giving a gentle squeeze. "We'll do whatever is necessary to keep you safe," she said softly. Time passed slowly, measured in the rhythm of beeps and quiet conversation. Anna rested, occasionally opening her eyes to glance at the family gathered around her. Trent whispered updates to Amber, explaining the medication schedule and what the doctor had advised. Emma remained at Anna's side, sharing small stories and memories from the house to distract her and keep her spirits high. Jonah occasionally offered a reassuring comment, his eyes always attentive, ready to act if Anna showed any sign of discomfort. Liz and Alex had positioned themselves slightly apart, maintaining quiet watch while respecting Anna's need for rest. They spoke in hushed tones, reflecting on the intensity of the past 24 hours. "I didn't realize how fast things could spiral," Liz murmured. Alex nodded, gripping her notebook, mentally noting everything about the incident. How quickly Anna's condition deteriorated, how the family rallied, and how the hospital staff acted. The experience was sobering, a reminder of fragility and the importance of vigilance. As the morning unfolded, Anna stirred again, this time attempting to sit up slightly. Amber gently guided her back down. "Not yet, sweetheart. Just a little longer," she cautioned. Anna nodded, her eyelids heavy with fatigue, but her lips curled in a faint, reassuring smile. Trent adjusted the bed, elevating her head just enough for comfort without risking her stability. The nurse returned with a small tray of breakfast, carefully portioned to match Anna's restricted diet. Each spoonful she took was a victory, a sign that her body was responding to treatment. The family remained close, surrounding her with a protective circle of love and support. Each movement, each word of reassurance helped Anna regain strength, both physically and emotionally. Amber whispered stories of home, of moments Anna had missed, and of the little mischief the younger siblings had gotten into. Emma chimed in occasionally with gentle humor, lifting the weight of fear that had dominated the night before. Jonah's quiet presence ensured that Anna always had someone steady nearby, while Trent coordinated communication with the hospital staff. Hours passed, and slowly, the tension in the room eased. Anna's strength returned incrementally, measured in small gestures, a blink, a squeeze of a hand, a weak but genuine smile. The family celebrated these moments quietly, knowing that recovery was a gradual process. Amber leaned back slightly, finally allowing herself a sigh of relief. "You're doing so well, Anna," she whispered, her eyes shimmering with tears of gratitude. Anna responded with a gentle squeeze of her mother's hand, a silent promise that she would continue to fight. By late afternoon, Anna was awake enough to hold conversations in a whisper, answering questions about her comfort and pain levels. Trent monitored her vitals closely, while the nurse adjusted medications as needed. The family rotated around the bed, ensuring that Anna felt supported without being overwhelmed. Moments of laughter began to creep into the room, tentative but genuine, as Anna's familiar personality slowly returned. The experience had left its mark. Amber realized just how much she relied on her children for strength, and how they, in turn, drew courage from each other. Each member of the family understood the fragility of life in a new way, appreciating the bonds that had carried them through the night's terror. Anna's small smiles, her whispered jokes, and her fragile yet determined presence became the anchor for everyone, a reminder that even in the face of severe illness, unity and love could prevail. As evening approached, the hospital room took on a softer hue, the fluorescent glare replaced by a warm, dimmed lighting that offered a sense of calm. Anna lay partially reclined, her energy slowly returning with each passing hour. Amber continued to sit close by, brushing Anna's hair back and occasionally speaking in soothing whispers. "Tomorrow we'll bring you home, Anna. You'll see the house again, your favorite chair, everything," Amber murmured, her voice carrying both hope and reassurance. Anna's eyes followed her mother, the faintest smile playing on her lips. "Can't wait," she whispered, the words carrying a fragile yet firm promise of recovery. Trent and Liz discussed quietly near the door, making plans for the next day's care routine. "We'll need to adjust her meals and monitor her vitals closely once we bring her home," Trent said, his voice steady but filled with concern. Liz nodded, jotting notes in her pad. We can rotate the care schedule so she's never left alone, even for a moment, she added. Jonah and Emma stood near the window, quietly observing their mother and sister, each aware of the weight of responsibility resting on their shoulders. Anna stirred again, reaching weakly toward Emma. Did you tell everyone I'm okay? She asked, her voice faint but tinged with worry. Emma leaned close, brushing Anna's hand gently. Yes, Anna. Everyone knows you're stable. You've made it through the worst part, and now you're getting